For more than 1,000 years, one name shaped the ancient world: Rome, a city that began as a collection of small huts on 7 hills, and rose to command an empire stretching across continents. Its armies conquered, its engineers built, and its ideas survived long after the empire itself dissolved. This is the story of the Roman Empire, its rise, its glory, its decline, and the legacy it left behind. The origins of Rome reach back to the 8th century before the Common Era. In a landscape of rolling hills and fertile plains, small settlements gathered along the banks of the Tiber River. These early Romans were farmers, shepherds, and traders who lived simple lives, but their position was strategic. Close to the coast, yet protected inland, surrounded by rich farmland and connected to trade routes that flowed through the region. From these modest beginnings, a city began to form, one that welcomed outsiders, learned from its neighbors, and adapted to every challenge it faced. By 509 BCE, the Romans took a bold step. Rejecting monarchy, they established a republic, a system where power rested not with a king but with elected officials and assemblies of citizens. This new form of government was revolutionary. In a world ruled by kings and dynasties, Rome trusted in laws, debate, and public duty. Although imperfect and dominated by elite families, the Republic created a political culture of competition, innovation, and ambition that would define Rome for centuries. As the Republic strengthened, Rome expanded, first across the Italian peninsula, then beyond it. Alliances, wars, and diplomacy extended Roman influence. But the true test of Rome's power came when it encountered a formidable rival, Carthage. A wealthy maritime empire, master of trade, and Rome's challenger for control of the Mediterranean. Between 264 and 146 BCE, the two powers clashed in the brutal Punic Wars. The most famous moment came when Hannibal crossed the Alps with war elephants, bringing the conflict directly into Italy. Rome suffered devastating defeats, but resilience was woven into Rome's identity. The Romans rebuilt their armies, adapted their tactics, and ultimately destroyed Carthage. With victory came dominance. Rome now stood as the leading power of the Mediterranean world. Yet success brought new problems. Wealth flowed into Rome, but it widened the gap between rich and poor. Senators accumulated vast estates. Ordinary citizens struggled. Generals gained fame and power, often more than the politicians who tried to control them. Tensions erupted into violence. Reformers were killed. Armies marched on Rome itself. One of the most influential figures of this era was Julius Caesar, a brilliant general and ambitious politician. His rise reshaped Rome, and his assassination in 44 BCE by senators hoping to save the Republic instead plunged the state into deeper chaos. Civil war followed. Chaos consumed the Republic. When the conflict finally ended, one man emerged supreme: Octavian, later known as Augustus. In 27 BCE, Augustus established himself as Rome's first emperor. Though he maintained the appearance of republican government, real power now resided in a single ruler. The Roman Empire had begun. Under Augustus, Rome entered a remarkable period known as the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. For nearly 2 centuries, the empire enjoyed stability, prosperity, and expansion. Roads stretched across Europe, Africa, and Asia. Aqueducts brought clean water to millions. Cities flourished with forums, baths, theaters, and temples. Trade connected distant regions, bringing wealth and cultural exchange. The empire grew into a complex network of peoples united by law, infrastructure, and Roman administration. Rome reached its greatest territorial extent under emperors like Trajan, who expanded the empire to the Persian Gulf, and Hadrian, who consolidated its borders and strengthened its defenses. The empire's engineering achievements were unmatched. The Colosseum, the Pantheon, and Hadrian's Wall still stand as reminders of Roman ingenuity. The empire was not only a military power, but a civilization of architecture, literature, philosophy, and innovation. But beneath Rome's golden age, cracks began to appear. The empire grew too large and too complex to manage easily. Political stability depended heavily on the abilities of individual emperors, and not all were prepared for the burden. corruption crept into government. The economy strained under the weight of military spending. Plagues reduced the population. Foreign pressures increased along the borders. By the mid-3rd century, the Roman Empire entered a period of crisis. Between 235 and 284 CE, dozens of emperors rose and fell in rapid succession, many assassinated by their own soldiers. Civil wars fractured the empire. Breakaway states formed in the west and east, invasions intensified, famine and disease spread. The empire stood on the brink of collapse. Yet, even in this turmoil, Rome proved resilient. A strong leader emerged, Diocletian. He introduced sweeping reforms, reorganized the government, and divided the empire into eastern and western halves to make administration more manageable. His efforts slowed the decline but could not reverse deep-rooted problems. In the early 4th century, Constantine the Great rose to power. He reunited the empire and ushered in major transformations, including the legalization of Christianity. He also founded a new capital in the east, Constantinople. With its strategic location and immense wealth, it would become the heart of the Eastern Roman Empire. As the Eastern Empire grew stronger, the Western Empire weakened. Economic troubles, political instability, and continuous invasions strained the West beyond repair. Germanic tribes crossed Rome's borders, sometimes as allies, sometimes as enemies. The Visigoths sacked Rome in 410 CE. The Vandals followed in 455. The Western government struggled to pay its armies or defend its territories. In 476 CE, the last Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed. The Western Roman Empire had fallen, but Rome's story did not end there. The Eastern Roman Empire, known today as the Byzantine Empire, continued for nearly 1,000 more years. It preserved Roman law, culture, and knowledge. It defended its territories against countless threats. And it remained a center of trade, art, and scholarship long after the West had crumbled. Only in 1453, when Constantinople fell to the Ottoman Turks, did the last remnant of the Roman Empire disappear. Yet even then, Rome's legacy lived on. It still lives today. In the laws that govern nations, in the languages spoken across Europe and beyond, in cities built on Roman models, in architecture inspired by Roman engineering, in republics that draw from Roman political ideas, and in the stories, histories, and imaginations of people around the world. Rome was not merely a place or a period in time, it was a force. A civilization whose influence continues to shape our modern world. Empires may fall, cities may crumble, but ideas endure. And the ideas of Rome, its governance, its culture, its innovations, and its ambition remain alive in the rhythms of everyday life. This is the legacy of Rome, a legacy that continues centuries after the empire itself has faded into history.